All right, let me know when you're ready. Basically, I've generated a derivation for the when you see it formula, and I want to get your personal take on whether or not the relationships and the correlations that I've generated to make this equation true make sense. And I want you to see if you can understand the PhD dissertation that I have generated here.
I don't even know what a dissertation is.
That's completely okay, because if what's important is that once you do understand this formula and equation, you will be able to graduate from your undergraduate degree in cookiesiology. Anyways,
I have no idea what the fuck you just
shall
said to
we
me.
begin? So let's start here. So it all starts with this phrase, WISI, right? You're looking at this phrase and you're thinking, what does this acronym even mean?
Wait, you said WISI.
WYSI.
Yeah, there you go.
You're welcome. Anyways,
You're not really doing a good job. You messed up the first part.
it's because I'm a virgin. Okay, so let me
Yo,
explain. So this acronym WYSI turns into a phrase, and that phrase is known as when you see it. And keep in mind that this phrase would be absolutely incomplete without adding all of the words together. Therefore, this becomes a formula that we need to solve. So starting off from the bat, if you take a look here towards the right, you can see that when you see it's being added, and I circle the C because the word C turns into the letter C. C equals C. This stands for cookiezi, okay?
Yeah.
Now listen, you're paying attention, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just making sure. Okay, so now hear me out. So, you have this formula and you...
I don't get what's... I'm listening.
Okay. So you have this formula, and as I was saying, the word U can also be transcribed into equaling the physical letter U. So now when you see it, becomes a new generated formula. But that's not what's important here, because what's important here is now there is a missing gap between the C and the it. And we know that there is a W in the beginning of the equation, which stands for dubs, and we don't take losses in the University of Cookieziology. So therefore, if you insert an L between the C and the it, you notice that we have generated the clit, but we don't want that to be there. So therefore, by taking the L, it cancels out with the dub. And therefore, the W and the L both get removed from the equation. Anyways, something that is, you're following, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, continuing with what I was going with. So now you have this letter U and this letter C. Now, what does U and C combined stand for? The University of Cookieziology. So you now know that the covalent bond is being generated between the U and the C, and this helps prove the factual evidence that this formula is following the standards of our University of Cookieziology. Continuing, we now have only a couple of letters left in this phrase. A lot of stuff has been canceled out. We're removing a lot of stuff. We have two words, hen and it. Now, before we begin, I'm going to give you a very simple math lesson that you learned in elementary school in cookiesiology, and that is that the letter A equals 1. And basically, any number times 1 equals the same number. Therefore, we can use that same knowledge to say that any number or any phrase times the letter A equals that same phrase. So you can essentially apply the letter A into any single phrase. So now if we re-scramble and reshuffle hen and it and multiply it by the letter A, you can discover that the core of when you see it is hentai. And that is a very important note, that is an observation that is worth noting when you're trying to prove this derivation of the when you see it formula. So now you understand that hentai is a fundamental, it is a absolute fundamental background that helps solidify the core of this derivation. Anyways, that is just something that is worth noted in this formula, and you cannot continue until you get to this point, because you can't continue until you derive the hentai the hentai constant of the formula. Anyways, continuing. So now you have this phrase hentai. Anyways, you can remove the A and it still represents the same thing. So now you have this phrase called henty. And now let's take the word blue zenith. You're looking at the word blue zenith and you realize that there is a correlation between the word zenith and the henty that we have created. And that is that the word zenith would not be complete without the henty, and the henty is missing the one letter, the letter Z. And now this is where it gets absolutely crazy, because you realize that this letter Z is the ending of the UC covalent bond that we had created back upwards when we made the University of Cookieziology statement, because Z stands for cookiezi, and therefore because we connect that back to the covalent bond, you can understand that that removal of the covalent bond absolutely destroys the clitoris, which also goes all the way back up to the when you see it. And now we focus on the letter Z. You only have this letter Z that is left. And now if you look at this letter Z, you realize that if you take 3 numbers, and that is 7, and that is 2 and 7, and you create a recursive stack of all those numbers, you realize that Z equals 727. And by all of this that we have seen, you now understand, and you now know that you have derived the when you see it formula, because when you see it equals 727.
But it says 7Z7.
727.
I missed the beginning. Can we run it back?
Okay. You have this acronym, WYSI. Actually, I have a question for you, Binfy.
I don't what happened. He saw it go back. I don't think he's still doing it. Are you still going?
So now, if you actually look at this equation, you know that the clit does not exist. Let's repeat after me. The clit does not exist. The clit does not exist. Repeat after me. The clit does.
What is a clit?
I don't know either.
Yeah, virgins.
Yeah. Yeah.